what's up guys, welcome to Funky Spaceman Island, and this is going to be my first D&D related video, and if you've never seen it before, there's a reviewer named Noah Antwire or Spoony, and he has a series of videos called Counter Monkey, which is essentially him reliving the days where he worked at a game store, and people would come up to him and just want to share D&D stories. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to share with you a fun D&D story that I had, and if you like it, go ahead and comment down below one of your own D&D stories, or maybe make me a video response for it. I'd love to watch them. And my first one is based off of a character that I made for an evil campaign, which I'm usually not a fan of making evil characters, because I'd rather be the good guy, because the hero is usually who gets, his name up in lights and stuff. At the end of the movie, he's always the one who comes out triumphant. If you see a movie where the villain wins, you're not going to be as impressed. So I usually more like to play the good guy, but I wouldn't say forced, but the whole idea of the campaign was to have evil characters, and I was really against it. I was like, man, I just don't like being bad, so I didn't know what I was going to do. We had a guy who was going to be like a kind of slaver, we had a guy who was going to be straight up, cultist, like scribbles tattoos with a knife on him. We had a guy who was just going to be like an evil rogue who was always in it for himself. So I just didn't know what could possibly be my role, so I was like, I'm just going to make the most insane bugfuck evil character I could possibly think of. And I ended up with my character Jouffre Domer, who is a feral Harsaf paladin of slaughter. And my DM at the time made his own pantheon of one god to each one of the alignments, lawful good, chaotic good, so on and so forth. And this was chaotic evil, as evil as you could get. His name was Quarthos, because he named them all after rock bands too. The reason we did that was because there's so many gods in D&D that we really couldn't keep it straight, so we just made it to each one of the alignments, and then we made them have their own little niche off of that. Like, there's Hailstrom, she's the lawful good god, and she's goddess of travel too, because you gotta make everything free and whatnot. So we all have this thing set, and first off, how I built this character was feral Harsaf, which, if you're not familiar, a Harsaf is essentially a sand folk kind of person who dwells in the desert, can turn into sand, and naturally produces a lot of heat. So whenever he hits you, he does fire damage. And I'm also giving him the feral template, which is completely broken. It's one level adjustment, and you get claws, you get pounce, you get rake, you get all this kind of stuff. And then I gave him willing deformities, so he's like going out of his way to make himself all fucked up looking just to please his god, which is Quarthos. And I gave him a willing deformity of, like, he pretty much filed down all his teeth and sharp points so he'd bite people, just because he's fucking crazy and he'd do that. And to make sure he was crazy, I gave him willing deformity madness, which makes you crazy. So you take a -4 to wisdom, and your character is immune to mind effects. He's just got fucking nothing going on in his brain except for babbling insanity. So this character is just like, he outputs damage like no other. He gets a whole shitload of attacks, and each one of those attacks does fire damage, so it's like nothing to him. And I always have him talking to himself as if he could talk to Quarthos, which you can't, because in this world, like, gods are barred from actively interfering with the day-to-day things of man, so they allocate it to agents. But my guy thought he was talking directly to Quarthos, because it's crazy. And I asked him, my DM's like, what's the best way to appease Quarthos or to, like, praise him? He's like, oh, well, you have to burn a heart in his name. And I'm like, okay, it's not hard for someone who always produces heat. So that's what he would do. He would go around, like, ripping people's hearts out and, like, sacrificing it to a god. And we get to a point where we come to this small village, and, like, I'm like, Joffrey wants to go to the police station, and he's like, oh, okay, why? It's like, so let's go. So I go up there, I go to the front desk, I'm like, hey, I need to talk to the captain. I'm new in town, I just want to speak to him. He's like, the person at the desk like, alright, I guess we'll go get him. And then they go back, they come out a few minutes later, and it's a Minotaur. And he gets all big and bad. It's like, oh, were you trying to start trouble? Because my dude openly wears a symbol to Gorthos on his chest. And I'm like, nah, I just wanted to, see what's going on in town and just say hello. And then he's just like, I don't want to see any trouble out of you. I'm like, I don't want to cause any trouble. I don't want to cause trouble. So, my guy leaves, and I asked my rogue friend, like, hey, if I pay you a little bit of money, would you follow this dude back to his house? And he's like, yeah, I'll do anything for money, because he's that kind of guy, that kind of thief, as Spoon would say. So I get him to do that, and the reason I target this guy in particular is because this town is devoted to Hailstrom. So everyone in this town is up on the opposite end of the spectrum of my character. So he wants to make a statement, and they didn't have. Everybody kind of prays at their own thing, so there wasn't a church for me to burn down this time, because he burns down churches. So he goes to this guy's house at night, and it's going to turn to sand. I just go right underneath the door. The dude's asleep in his bed, and my guy we play by the rule of, my dude only does, was only going to do, 3d6, which is a good amount of damage, don't get me wrong, but to drop a Minotaur? Pfft, no. He's going to laugh at you. But my dude has claws, and he has the jump on you when you're asleep, and he's just using all his power. So, if he wants to, burst in and, rip your heart out, I'm sure he wouldn't have much of a problem. So that's just how we played it. So he goes in there. Oh, and this is a really funny part. I go rolling. You just have to roll to hit. You just have to make sure you don't trip on your feet and fall over and flop. I rolled the first time, and I got a 1. Just took that dice and threw it across the room because I was sick of that thing. But then I'm looking at my character sheet because I'm like, I'm not accept this. I'm looking through it like, aha! I have this ability. It's called Wind to Change. It lets me re-roll one of my failed rolls. So I rolled again, and I actually got it that time. And that saved my ass. I felt like I was doomed. I was shitting my pants. So I get this heart. I don't burn it to him. I wanted to leave a message for him. So I burn his corpse, and I take a dagger, and I just nail his heart to his desk at the police station, just to add that much more fear into these people, because I planned on sticking around and just messing with them, but it never came to that, because in the morning I come outside. I wanted to see what the results of this was. Come outside, and it's all really foggy. It's really foggy. So I start walking down the road, and I go to the police station, and they said it's closed off, it's whatever. So okay. And then a church had appeared, because there wasn't a church there before, specifically because he didn't want me to burn down another church. But now there's a church there. So that's weird. And there's this weird guy approaches me. He's just completely straight faced, no emotion showed on it, and he's got he looks old, but he looks put together, and he just says, your presence is needed at the church. And I'm just like, all right, let's do it, let's go. The rest of the party is like, I don't know if we're gonna want to be with this guy. And the guy just goes, you're coming with him too. And I'm like, come on guys, let's go. Because my guy's crazy, he don't give a fuck. So we go there, I kick in the door, I walk in, and there's somebody sitting at this judge's pedestal, and that guy's already in the room. I mean, we left before he did, but he's already in there because something's up. And this person like announces himself. It's like, she goes, "I am the agent to the goddess Hailstrom, and you are now on trial for your heinous crimes against the world." And I'm just like, okay, let's bring it. Let's do this thing. Guarthos is with me. Isn't that right, Guarthos? And I'm just like, Guarthos says yes. So she starts reading off my list of crimes, and every single one of them's true. Like, it's like, you killed this farmer for no reason, you killed this guy for no reason, you, like, decorated a fountain with someone's entrails. And I'm just like, yeah, sounds about right. It's kind of what happened. And she looks over at this guy who's just kind of, this still weird guy who's just kind of moderating all this. She goes, "Well, with all this placed before you, I say that you should be erased from history, because that's the most potent crime you can have in there, is that they will go to like the over deity and get you erased from history." And the guy just nods his head. He goes, "Well, do you have anything to say in response?" And Frey goes, "I don't have anything to say, but if Guarthos would hear, he'd say that this woman has no basis for this, because I killed 50, 60 people. How many wars been waged? How much blood's been spilled in your god's name? I mean, you're crying because I ripped a few hearts out? That's fine. Even if you do erase me, someone else is going to come back, and he's just going to be as terrible as anybody else." So the guy like nods his head, and he looks over and goes, "I'm not erasing this person from history, because exactly what he said. If we start erasing everybody who kills somebody, then there's not going to be very many people left in this world." So this chick starts getting all huffy, and like, he's like, "Okay, you're all dismissed." I'm like, "One more thing." And my dude just starts rattling off this list of things that he's gonna do to this woman if he ever sees her walking freely. Like, he's gonna rip her entrails out, he's gonna like gouge out her eyes and all this other stuff. And like, this chick is like, her face is like beet red. Like, Jouffre knows that he can't do any of this stuff, but he also knows that she can't do anything to him, because that's how agents of gods work. Like, yeah, they can fuck with you, but they can't like actively do it. And by this time, this guy is just like standing there still emotionless. So she's just like, "Get out of here and get out of this town." So we walk out of there, and immediately as we walk out, we're not even in the town anymore. So they like dimension orders or something. So the whole reason I wanted to bring this up was just because now we're in the same campaign setting, but we're different guys. Like, I'm a Warforged and all this other stuff. And now every time we hear about Hailstrom, even though she's the most lawful good character or god that there is, we're still like, "Oh, that chick's a bitch because she tried to erase a guy who's going around ripping people's hearts out and eating them from history." And like, anytime we hear about Hailstrom, we automatically think she's a bitch because she is trying to do the right thing. So yeah, and Jouffre met his end because, he's insane, so something insane had to happen to him. But yeah, I thought that was a funny story. So if any of you have any of your own things, go ahead and post them down below. Give me a link to them, video response, and I want to check them out, because after seeing all the Spoonies videos, I tried to look up some myself, and I couldn't really find any. So I'd like to start like our own little Countermonkey community, if you will. So yeah, please do that, and take care.